What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is another video by the Armchair Analyst, and I'm here to discuss all things SEC basketball related. I am doing a video on the women as well. I got all that ready to go for later on today when it's uploaded. And I'm really excited about conference basketball beginning for both the men and the women. The men conference play begins January 5th, this coming Saturday. And for the women, this upcoming Thursday on January the 3rd, conference play starts for them. So back to the men. Currently number one in the SEC, the Mississippi State Bulldogs sit at 12-1. This is in terms of overall record and win percentage. The Bulldogs are first in the SEC. Number two, the Tennessee Volunteers at 11-1. Three, the Auburn Tigers at 11-2. Four, the Kentucky Wildcats at 10-2. Fifth, Ole Miss at 10-2. LSU sits at 10-3. 9-3 respectively are both Arkansas and Missouri. Alabama sits at 8-3. Vanderbilt sits at 8-3 as well. Florida 8-4. Georgia 7-4. Texas A&M 6-5. And South Carolina sits at 4-7. Right now, the worst loss for any SEC team so far has come at the hands of the Duke Blue Devils. The Kentucky Wildcats lost to the Duke Blue Devils by a score of 118-84. That is hands down the worst loss any SEC team has had in non-conference play. And I say that so wholeheartedly. The Wildcats look very lethargic. They look slow. They couldn't defend Duke's three-point shooting. They couldn't defend Duke's up-tempo style of play. And if this is a precursor of what Kentucky will possibly have to deal with later on in the season, if they can't handle that type of team, Kentucky may not win the SEC tournament this year. I don't see them winning the regular season title this year, more or less winning the SEC tournament title. I'll give you my quick tournament predictions later on. But so far, the best win easily Tennessee when they defeated then number one Gonzaga by a score of 76-73. The Zags are 11-2 right now, and they currently sit at number 7. Tennessee is now up to number 3 in the country. I think the next best win, Kentucky. As much as I hurt them, as much as I gave them gripe about their loss against Duke, I got to give them some credit. You had to get a big win against another ACC opponent, more or less your rival, and they did just that against Louisville on the road at the Yum Center, defeating them 71-58. So 16th ranked Kentucky, to me, needed the momentum. They need to get their mojo back, and I think they're starting to find that. But defensively, you still got to pick it up, though. However, they showed tonight they can play good perimeter defense. Last night they showed that they could play good perimeter defense. The next best win so far this year, I got to give it to Mississippi State, defeating Clemson 82-71. I get Clemson isn't considered a top-tier ACC team, but overall the ACC is a very tough conference to play against. All the Carolina teams are really good. Clemson so far has looked pretty decent at 9-3 entering that game. 9-2 entering the game, now going down to 9-3. And I think the Bulldogs put off a very good win, not only for them, but for the SEC as a whole, to show the college basketball world that SEC can play basketball too. They're not just a football conference. I think the top players in the conference so far, Grant Williams, Admiral Schofield, and Nicholas Claxton. I think Claxton is a very underrated big man in the SEC. He's 6'10". He puts up only 42% from the field in terms of shooting, which is really bad for someone who's that tall. But I think Claxton is a very underrated player. Now, I get he's only shooting 42% from the field, and that's really terrible for a 6'10" big man. But he's putting up 10 rebounds a game. He puts up about, 2.5, maybe 3 assists on a good night. And he's putting up 3 blocks a game. His last outing, he put up 6 blocks. And the game before that, another 6 blocks. And if you take away field goal percentage, I know he's not that great offensively, but he is a defensive menace, and he gives Georgia that low post. He anchors the low post very well for the Georgia Bulldogs. He gives them a good anchor down low. I think the second best player so far has been Admiral Schofield. 18 points, 6 rebounds, almost 3 assists, 43% from the three-point line, 51% from the field. He's a senior. The 6'6 guard is playing really, really well, and he's anchoring Tennessee's scoring. But Tennessee, they're not really a three-point shooting team. But they don't really need to shoot the three-point shot. However, when you have a player like Schofield who can stretch the floor and give defense certain issues, then I have to give it up to him. He has been doing his job pretty well. Grant Williams, another good shooter, 41% from the three-point line, 59% from the field. The 6'7 junior, 20 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. He is my overall top player in the SEC so far. Him and Schofield are the anchors of this volunteer team. And I think this Tennessee team is trying to show the SEC, they're trying to show Kentucky, they're trying to show college basketball, we're a top program now. We learned from last year's mistakes. We're here this year. We're here to win. They want that outright regular season title, and I know they want to win the SEC tournament title. Last year, they co-shared it with Auburn, and they want revenge from last season. And I think they want nothing more but to play Kentucky in the SEC tournament championship game in Bridgestone Arena in Nashville. They want that badly, and I can feel it. I really can. So far, the latest bracket projections are from Joe Lunardi. As of December 27th, Florida moves down from 10 to 11 in the latest seeding projections. They're now bumped down to a first 4 game where they would play in to be the 11th seed in the South region. Staying in the South region, MSU, the Mississippi State Bulldogs, stay at number 5. In the East, Auburn moves over to the East region as a 3 seed. In the Midwest, LSU goes up to number 9. They were in the East region as a 10 seed. They go up to 9 in the Midwest region. Out West, Tennessee is now up to officially a top 4 seed in the tournament. Well, a number 1 seed, but one of the top 4 overall seeds in the tournament. They are sitting number 1 in the West region, and with them in that region so far, the Kentucky Wildcats, who bump up from 9 to 6. So those are your latest tournament projections so far by Joe Lunardi. Real quick, my SEC regular season and tournament predictions. I think the regular season title will go to Tennessee. I think the tournament title will go to Tennessee. There's so much momentum with Tennessee, and I'm saying that name a lot, but the Vols, they had a big win against Gonzaga, the same team that beat Duke. And I know they beat Duke, you beat them, so you're the best team in the country. That doesn't work all the time. But the Volunteers are backing up why they're that good. Kentucky's biggest issue that I've noticed is they can't defend teams that run very well in transition. Duke exposed that quite heavily, like I said before. They could have been slow, but all Duke did was run in transition and shoot threes. If they want to go inside on the fast break, it was either Zion or Cam Reddish. They had their way with Kentucky. And if they can't defend teams that can run in transition like that, Kentucky's going to have a very hard time trying to climb up in the SEC ranks and winning the regular season title, getting the top seed, or even winning the tournament. I think Kentucky will finish, honestly, 2nd or 3rd. If they finish 3rd, I think they'll finish behind Tennessee and Auburn in that order, 1, 2, 3. I think the Bulldogs will drop off slightly to a 5 seed, and I can see Ole Miss jumping them as a 4 seed. I think Ole Miss is a scary dark horse for plenty of teams that could put in the SEC, they might sneak up on some competition and possibly snatch away the tournament title or be a threat to do so. Kentucky's defense ranks 162 in the country. That is terrible. You have to pick up the pace. Auburn shoots 33s a game. Tennessee only puts up 20. MSU puts up 25. But all three of those teams can knock them down at a fairly decent clip. Tennessee doesn't really take that many threes because they don't have that many three-point shooters. They have a lot of athletes on that team. But they still knock down about 35% of their three-point shots as a team per game. Auburn puts up about 33s a game. They make nearly 11 of them. They're not the most efficient three-point shooting team, but if they're hot, they can knock down threes at will. But that is also Auburn's biggest downfall. The main reason why I have a hard time seeing them winning and getting the automatic bid is because they rely on the three-point shot so much, it will cripple them. They went 0 for 10 at one point in time against NC State. You can't do that. And of course, Bruce Pearl changed up the offense, and he had Jared Harper go to the paint a little bit more. He had Austin Wiley in the paint as well, making some good low post hook shots. But Auburn's DNA is the three-point shot. If you can stop them from making threes, you don't need to make threes to beat them. If you can keep them from making threes, or if they get cold, you can take them out of the game pretty easily. And I think for MSU, they're the most efficient three-point shooting team in the league. And we're going to see really quickly whether or not Kentucky's perimeter defense has improved as they play MSU very early in the season on January 22nd. They play them again on February 9th. I'm going to watch both games very closely, and I really think if Kentucky can show they can slow down any one of those teams' three-point shooting or fast break offense, they would have the number one shot of winning the SEC tournament. But if they show me they can't run in transition and they're struggling to keep up, I don't care what the score is. I'm taking Tennessee and even Auburn, maybe even MSU over Kentucky. But those are my latest SEC projections as well as my mid-season review before conference play begins next Saturday. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe. And as always, have a great day. I'll talk to you later.